Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Hello, welcome to the next session of management of new products and services. If you remember in the last session where we looked at this whole process of matching strategic value proposition with a customer segment, I had mentioned about this concept of minimum viable product, which is today a very well practiced process because of the market velocity ever increasing, product life cycles becoming more and more compressed, and also to reduce the overall cost by way of money, cost by way of time of product development. We have this sort of paradigm which we call the lean product development process. So, minimum viable product is one of the elements of this lean product development process. So, originally famous companies like Toyota in automobile product design adopted this lean product design methodology, but from that it has been made popular by people like Dan Olson and others, and there are some very useful and easily available books are there on lean products, lean product methodology, lean product playbook. They come in different names. You can just search and you will find many, and I will recommend that some of you who are seriously into product design, product management, that you should go through. These are usually short books and very well written, so you will easily understand, but some of the key principles that are covered by these books I will discuss in today's session. So, the lean product process basically has the following steps that you see on the screen, that you determine your target customer. This is always the fountainhead, as we discussed even in the last session. This is where you first start segmenting and starting with a well defined focus on a particular type of customers. Then you identify and understand those customer needs in depth, their pains and what gains you can offer, and then you define your value proposition. Up to these three steps are what we discussed in detail in the last session. Now, once you have your value proposition, then you get into what we call the minimum viable product, and that is what we are going to discuss about this whole process. So, those are the next three blocks that you see on your screen, these last three, that specify your minimum viable product, create your minimum viable product prototype, and test your minimum viable product with customers. So, the first three blocks we covered in the last session, and these three blocks we are going to cover in this particular session. First step, to determine your target customers. I emphasize again, we discussed in the last session as well, that always you have to get out of the building, not in the office, you have to go out in the field where customers are. So, go to Gemba, as the Japanese say, go to the shop floor, go to the marketplace, go to the store, and conduct interviews and develop customer persona. Now, this is I think briefly discussed this concept in some earlier session, but today I am going to discuss it in a little bit more detail, that a persona means a complete person and a profile. So, which means we in this process we do not want to deal with customers just as a kind of a type or part of a demographic profile or psychographic profile. We want to identify the customers by name, what they look like, and you quote that conveys what they most care about. Take one or two, three things that they have said, and their job title, their demographic position, their needs, their goals in life, their relevant motivations and attitudes, what kind of tasks and behaviors are most important to them, their frustration points with the current solution, the level of expertise and knowledge that is available with the customer, product usage, in what context, in what environment they use the product. All these must be captured in the customer persona. And I think you should also add to this kind things like what other products do they use, what other products they buy, what brands they prefer, and so on. So, you may be actually trying to develop a running shoe for senior citizens who may have some knee problem and so on. So, you need to develop a shoe which is they still need to exercise, they still need to jog, but you have to take care that they do not have problems with their knees or ankles and so on. If you are studying to develop a product of that type, then obviously you will have to look into all the pains and problems and therefore offer solutions. But to come to that particular decision, the design profile or brief for the product, you have to also look at what other stuff they buy and use today, what kind of track suits they buy, what kind of aftershave they use, if they at all use, or what soaps, what other lifestyle stuff they have. So, basically we are trying to understand not only the customer's income and address and name and what they look like, but also we try to understand the customer in more detail. So, psychographic, physical details, other preferences, so that we get a complete picture of the persona. And I mentioned that you have to take some quotes from the customer, some key quotes which will give you the direction. Like here I have to illustrate, I have chosen actually a service, quite an intangible service. As you know, today among the students, particularly in top institutes, there is tremendous pressure and tremendous competitiveness across actually almost all institutes today. Education is becoming more and more fiercely competitive, and therefore, we have due to not only due to that reason, but due to other various socio-political economic reasons, we also have more and more depression among the students. We have even in some areas and some states, we have addiction to drugs or cigarettes or alcohol and other problems. And so, the need of counseling for de-addiction or need for counseling for handle depression, need for counseling to make them capable of handling failures. This particularly happens in top institutes. That need of counseling, the counseling service, which earlier used to be just a small side service in an institute, has now become a central and therefore, this whole counseling service now needing volunteers. And large institutes, they have like IITs or IIMs etc., they have counseling service within, but in many other cases we need volunteer counselors who are capable and well trained to handle large number of students who may not have this facility available within their institute, or they may need more specialized help. So, the service therefore I have chosen is a service that trains this kind of volunteer counselors to make them capable of handling the counseling assignment. So, as a counselor volunteer to learn how to communicate more effectively with young adults, so that young students that I coach against addiction will trust me. This is a statement taken from a customer of this particular service, and we are looking at how to develop a minimum viable product which is going to respond to this kind of need for these people. So, counselor needs are less complicated applications of psychological principles, easy to understand, because many times these volunteers are themselves actually students of engineering or students of medicine or management, and so they are not professional psychiatrists and so on, but so you need less complicated applications of the principles. How to regress progress activities to fit the problem level. So, some people may need very intensive counseling, some people may need light casual counseling. How to keep the teens interested and engaged, this is a very major challenge, because many people actually they reluctantly come to counseling, then they drop out, and so to keep them engaged so that the process itself can happen is a very important need. Behavior management, time efficient alternatives, and easy to use activities in an easy to use format. So, a volunteer who is an engineering student or a medical student wants to become a counselor, and you are actually creating a service to enable them to perform their counseling activities, and this is the typical need a counselor has. So, you see, this is what we are talking about, the understanding a customer segment's needs, and this need analysis will tell us the pains and the problems with the current solutions, and some of those depictions are already there. This is a capture from an actual case. So, you can actually therefore see how the counselor needs are to be framed. And then you see, this is what we call a value proposition. That means something that you are trying to design your offering, and then on the left hand side the lower left you have this the current marketplace offerings and what the customer needs. So, the intersection of these three, this is the Venn diagram, this is what we call the targeted value proposition. So, your offering is not only the value proposition, there will be so many other things in your value proposition, but you are trying to find within your offering definitely issues that are not covered well by the current marketplace offerings and what the customer needs. All three intersection gives you the core value proposition on which your service will be designed. So, counselor training value proposition is provide volunteer counselors training that is time efficient, user friendly and easy to learn. Okay. Given that, specify your minimum viable product. So, the feature set will be develop more user stories, case histories, case studies, features, these are some, and then it should be something that the whole package, the cost of the training and the training material etc., should be such that will be affordable for these kind of voluntary services. They may not be very cash rich. So, they will have some subsidy coming from the institutes. The people who are seeking counseling may provide, their parents may provide some amount of money, but in many cases if you are addressing this market in tier 2, tier 3 cities and even in the suburbs or even in the metros, there will be many students who will not be able to afford to pay high fees. So, you have to therefore also look at ROI. So, counselor needs and minimum viable product features, simple and time efficient training. So, therefore, online videos that are accessible 24/7. So, reducing the cost by creating this kind of NPTEL type of courses online available, which can be first studied by the volunteers. Then easy to use activities in an easy to use format, which will be, they will come for a one-day workshop and it will be provided to them, and so that they can take it to the program. And then parents not understanding why possibly the addiction happened, therefore, you also need. So, this is what happens from a deeper understanding of certain unspoken needs. So, we often find that actually the parents themselves do not feel the need of seeking counseling. So, even though at home they can detect a child under a young teen in depression, or they can detect these addiction and other problems, they themselves they may feel it is a disease, or they may beat up the person, but they will not seek counseling. So, there is also a need of, in the minimum viable product, a package where parents' awareness and sensitization can be included. So, you are therefore trying to build a prototype of a 3 hours workshop that with target parents that lets you test your hypothesis. Okay. So, in doing that, therefore, you are going to follow this measure, the build, measure the effectiveness, learn from the interaction, and then again build. So, you see it is a loop, and because as we have discussed even in many earlier session, that today in product development we do not believe in a linear process of start to finish, stage after stage. We know that we need many iteration, we need many interactive back and forth, and that is why this loop is shown in front of you, where this to develop this, say a 3 hour workshop for parents, you actually need to create first a package. And this is the key point, that in the minimum viable product scenario, we do not actually try to come up with the best finished package for this 3 hour workshop. We will first develop a rough cut, and then maybe with some trusted parents who already feel the need of this sensitization and their awareness. So, you they already believe in it. So, you bring them in, present the thing, take their suggestions. So, you are actually co-opting in some way what we call expert customers, and you are co-opting them as advisors in your design process. I am discussing this with respect to this a package of training for volunteer counselors, a service product, but it can be applied to anything. It can be applied to some high tech products. It can be, in fact, this minimum viable product approach is widely practiced in places like Silicon Valley, or in Bangalore software development companies, or people who are developing games, video games. In many high tech areas, the minimum viable product today is a well practiced process. So, lastly, I want to highlight that actually therefore, the minimum viable product is not a extremely complex set of activities. It basically says, and you already know these terminologies very well, we say beta customers or alpha product and beta product. So, alpha product means what just a prototype which is just internal, and you actually analyze the performance internally. And then the beta product means beta customers are customers who are trusted customers. That means if your product has flaws, then they will not badmouth your product, they will rather try to help you to take care of those shortcomings. So, it is kind of things which earlier we used to call test marketing, but today I would say it is more like co-creation with trusted customers. I mean, look at what Microsoft or many other software companies or even game development companies they do today. So, they first come up with, say, a new game or a new software, and then they will release it to maybe 1000 customers. With software products, it is easy, they will just be electronically given the product, and these are people who take pride in who can find how many bugs in the shortest possible time. So, they almost these 1000 people will be almost competing with each other, that oh, I found this bug and this is how you solve it, and then I found this bug and this is how you solve it. Oh, here the game was not behaving properly, then I find that this is how you actually make it. So, what happens is at this stage, because they are trusted customers, you will actually often share your development codes or the software process with them, and they will work furiously because they take pride in it, they love it. And the same thing as I was mentioning, that some parents who already know the critical need of parent support in a de-addiction counseling program, you bring them in and show this is how I am going to make a 3 hours training package for parents, and then take their advice to say no, this is you need to expand on this, or you need to add this particular point, or you need to give this kind of examples, etc. And then similarly in software, I mean, just watch how Microsoft does it. They come up with a product and they will actually, suppose a new version of Windows, they will release it to these beta customers, they will furiously work, and so at that stage the product may have 100 bugs, but these 1000 people will work furiously, they will come up with solution. So, with 1 round or 2 rounds of iteration, actually the next product will be, within a very short time, the product will become almost bug free. They continue to therefore work on, and that is why you know that many of these software, many of these games you buy, and then you keep on getting patches or fixes, bug fixes, patches for improvement, security improvement, and so on. Fundamentally, that is coming from this whole concept of minimum viable product. That means the first product you got is not the finished product, it is actually, in the earlier paradigm, you would not actually be able to release that product, but today we do this, we do not release it straight away to the general market. For example, say Reliance Jio, when they launched their quite innovative way of the voice, where they were able to offer the voice telephony free of cost, because it is actually riding on the internet protocol, and so they introduced this to their staff to begin with. Then as the staff gave feedback and certain things were worked out, they went to the relatives of their staff and their friends again. So, you see, you are going by circle, retaining the so called circle of trust. So, first were your own employee staff, then they extended it to their family members and their friends, then they extended it to people who were recommended by their staff, right. Then when they had already fixed many of the problems in rolling out this quite unique approach compared to what was happening just 2 years back in mobile telephony, then they started rolling out to the customers. They of course did other disruption that we discussed in a previous session. So, whether it is Microsoft, whether some of the major game developers across the world, and people like even Reliance Jio in our case. So, you can see for both products and services, for hard products, for soft products, this minimum viable product introduction and then continuous bug fixation, co-opting the customer's help, has become a lean way of developing new products. And today this is also done for series changes or product extensions, product improvements, product augmentation. In all these areas we use this. So, key remains, however, that all these you do not by out of your own imagination or talking among yourselves. You get out of the building and talk to the customers and get engaged with them, and that is how you arrive at a better and better and better product. So, the key point here we are saying is that which is there in the right in the beginning in the set of steps, that you, after you have value proposition, you have the brief, then you come up with this minimum viable feature set, then you create your minimum viable prototype, then you interact with your beta customers and trusted customers, take their input and test it with them, and then come up with a product, and you keep on continuously improving on the product by taking their inputs. So, this is the journey of the minimum viable product, and in a later session we will discuss another interesting concept that goes hand in hand with minimum viable product, which we call pivoting. Thank you.